Welcome to the Long Take Review, where four college professors talk film, providing insight, not assigning homework. I'm your host, Jen Sobchak-Bankard, and I'm here with a couple of friends in La La Land who are recording under the moonlight. First, our co-host of the episode, it's PT McNiff. How's it going, PT?
It's the love of my life. I love you. I love you so much. To my family, Mama, Papa, Jeff, and Damien Chazelle were standing on your shoulders. I lost, by the way.
You guys, I'm really sorry. There's been a mistake. This is not a joke. Antonio Elefano, you are our co-host. How's it going, Antonio?
Anyone watching this who sees themselves in us, let this be a symbol, a reflection that leads you to love yourself, because doing so may be the difference between dreaming it all and somehow, through the Academy's grace, realizing dreams you never allowed yourself to have. I'm doing great, Jen. That was actually not said during the ceremony. That's what Barry Jenkins had planned if he'd won Best Picture, but then obviously because of all of the chaos, he couldn't say exactly what he intended, but later at a film festival, he shared what his actual speech was going to be.
Wow,
Very nice.
I had never heard that. That would have changed the mood of the of the evening for sure. So, listeners, in case you're wondering, and we don't blame you if you are, those were all references to the chaotic closing that Antonio is talking about of the 2017 Oscars ceremony, so the 89th Academy Awards, if we're being technical. So we're here. We're back with another. It's been a little while, but we are back with another Oscar Fairy Flashback episode in which we look back at the an Oscars of a year past and share what we would have wanted to change about the winners and the nominees, and kind of just reflect on the year in film itself. So technically, these are films that came out in 2016, but the Oscar ceremony would have been in 2017. I never know what to title the episode, like what year to put in the tag based on that. But yeah, we're making it work. So the idea, we call it Oscar Fairy Flashback because the idea is like if we were in the good graces of the all-powerful Oscar Fairy and we could kind of wield our wishes and make some sort of Faustian bargain to get the Oscars that we wanted, what would it look like? And for those who don't know, we will describe, like if you're like, I'm still confused, it's again, we don't blame you. We will describe what all of that means and how we're going to proceed, what the rules are for this engagement. But before we get to our point of arrival, PT, if after listening to this episode, people would cross hell or high water to come back, what can they do?
If listeners think we are fantastic beasts and want to know where to find us, they should follow the Long Take Review wherever they get their podcasts. We host the feed on Jen's Substack at thelongtake.substack, but you can see how far we'll go in the City of Stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, YouTube, and many more. You can also climb the fences around social media to find us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at the Long Take Review. Or you can Manchester by the Sea updates from us on Letterboxd. The account is at LTR Pod, or you can follow the hashtag LTR Pod in order to see what each of us individually has been watching. And we ain't lying. Jen?
Bravo. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how brilliant that was. And I loved it. You've outdone yourself this time. All right. Thanks, PT. Let's get into it. How does the Oscar Fairy Flashback work? For listeners who are new and have never listened to one of these episodes before, PT, I'll turn things over to you to explain.
Okay. Well, as regular listeners may know here at the Long Take Review, we're always paying attention to the Oscar race. Generally, that means we are looking forward to the upcoming Academy Awards, talking through the race as it happens. But we also find it fun to occasionally step back and train our eye on an earlier year in Oscar history. Regular listeners know we frequently talk about, as Jen mentioned earlier, what we would change in the current race if we had the power of the Oscar Fairy. Well, sometimes we use that magic wand on the past with an Oscar Fairy Flashback. This is our fourth such episode, the first one since last summer, because the most recent race kicked off. We were very distracted following that, but we're back at it. We've previously covered the 86th through 88th Academy Awards. You can find them in your podcast feed from last spring and summer. This episode, we are moving forward yet another year. We'll be taking on the 89th Academy Awards, held on February 26th, 2017, and honoring the films of 2016. Before we start talking about changes, let's travel back and see what happened at that totally normal and chill Oscar ceremony during that totally normal and chill year. 4 films won multiple awards. La La Land was the biggest winner in terms of number of wins. It had 6 wins for director, actress, score, song, production design, and cinematography. But very famously, as we were referencing earlier, not Best Picture. It is the movie with the most nominations ever, with 14, that did not win Best Picture. So it has a sort of ignominious place, I guess, even though it was a very big night for that. The other big winner was Moonlight, which did win Best Picture, along with Supporting Actor and Adapted Screenplay. It took home 3 awards, and then 2 movies took home 2 awards. Manchester by the Sea with Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay, and also Hacksaw Ridge, a World War II movie directed by a previous Academy Award winning undistinguishable blob whose name cannot be read clearly in the annals of history, which won 2 below-the-line awards for sound mixing and film editing. That means there were 8 other movies that feature-length movies that got 1 win each, and we can maybe discuss those as much or as little as possible, or as we like going forward, I should say. So those are all of the awards. Now, Jen and Antonio, what are your personal memories of the year? In general, I don't know, maybe we're close enough to our present time and sort of the existence of our lives that things have been pretty steady, at least locally within our lives since then. But, where were you in life, in movies? Where were you in terms of watching this ceremony when it happened? Antonio, what are your thoughts around these Oscars?
Well, first in 2016 was kind of a big year in that Janine and I had moved from Little Tokyo to our current house in South Pasadena, and Elijah, my oldest son, had just been born. I was on paternity leave for the spring, so I didn't actually watch this year. It was kind of light on watching all of the Best Picture nominees. I didn't actually see them all, which is unusual, but it was because I have an excuse. I was a new dad. But I did have a big 3 in movies that year. My top 3 were Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight, and 20th Century Women. So those were my top films of the year. Jen, how about you? What about 2016 and this Oscar ceremony for you?
Yeah, so I just want to, shout out to Greg. He couldn't be here, but was like fine with that because of the same reason. He was like, I haven't seen any of these movies. He was also a new dad around this time, and therefore, was not going to the theater every week the way he does now. But I'm a similar thing where my daughter was born in the fall of 2016. But I still actually from this year managed to see all of the Best Picture nominees. So we are well into I have to see all 10 nominees before the Oscars take place. I'm not necessarily trying to see much more beyond that. Sort of like we do now. Like this year, I think is like probably my record for number of films that were nominated for Oscars that I had seen. I'm nowhere near Greg, like nowhere near the completionist that Greg is. But who is? Who am I?
Yeah, who could be?
But yeah, so this was like I think I remember seeing the movies. I probably had to see a lot of these on VOD at home because I had a newborn child, and like but I think I have fond memories of this year. I remember I was really into the Moonlight, La La Land, which I don't know if we fully explained at the beginning, but if you're like still scratching your head about why we did the opening the way we did, it's because Moonlight actually won Best Picture, but there was a mess up with the cards, and Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway read that La La Land had won, and it was a whole thing where they had to kind of like take it back, and it was very weird, and everyone was very confused. And I actually was listening to the IndieWire Screen Talk episode from that year, like right after the Oscars. It was like their reaction episode, and wow, are they fired up. They're like, this is what journalists wait for. This is like, so they were like so excited about the frenzy and like what was going on backstage and like who was talking to whom and like who got fired and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this is a big year as an Oscar fan. This is, I think, a very a watershed year for sure.
This does feel like a year that is more remembered for the ceremony because of that than for the movies, even though I believe, at least looking in the Best Picture races that exist, I think this is the first time we have a Sight and Sound 100 placed movie in the conversation in Moonlight, the Best Picture winner. But, you know, in a weird way, it was overshadowed by the awarding of its Oscar. I did read over the last, like, whatever, winter break into the beginning of the semester, the book Oscar Wars by Michael Schulman, which sort of goes through Oscar history. And this is one of the ceremonies they hone in on, and the crack investigative journalism around it seems to be that what happened was the Price Waterhouse people with the envelopes, who have checked the envelopes and know in their mind what the winners are. On each side of the stage, they have a set of envelopes, and you're supposed to take one out and move it to the back if you are not the person. Sort of like a Trivial Pursuit game, if you're not the person who's handed it to the presenter. And it was the guy who had not handed the Best Actress envelope to the person who handed out Best Actress, and he picked it up, but then he also picked up the Best Picture and then wanted to take photos of Emma Stone, while also showing Warren Beatty. It was a new, they were using a new stationery company that year, and so it was not like sealed, it was tape, and the tape isn't visible. And so like they were showing everyone, here's what it is, but he had the two envelopes on top of each other and he flipped it over to show the back, which was the Emma Stone envelope, and then just handed him that instead of turning it back over. And that's what happened. And he doesn't work on the Oscars anymore because he was too busy tweeting about Emma Stone instead of paying attention. And also, you know, all these like things that was like going back to the Academy president being like, we need to get more diversity in here. They decided to go with like a Black owned business to do the stationery. And so therefore the stationery was different. And like, that's like, it was like this weird domino effect of all these narratives from the previous few years. So anyway, yes, apologies for getting a dozen minutes in without clarifying what was going on with that. I did not and continue, as far as I know, to not have any children, so I don't have that story to share with the two of you and Greg. But I do feel like this was maybe this will be a short episode. I don't know, because it feels like I wasn't as tuned into the movies. I think real world stuff like pulled me away from paying that much attention. I've chipped away over the years and have now seen all of these Best Picture nominees and quite a number, I guess, of the other multiple nominees and sort of prominent movies that are on here. But not as many as I think normally I would have. And when the awards came, I was more just watching it for the show, which wasn't a bad choice that year, but was not necessarily I didn't. I love the three movies, Antonio, that you mentioned, but one of them I only watched yesterday or the day before. So we'll have to get into sort of what was out there and at least float things around as we actually play our game with the Oscar Fairy. And to that point, let's talk about the rules of the conversation we'll be having. For those of you who've not tuned in before, or for those of you who haven't tuned in since last June, including the three of us, the rules are as follows. We each have a certain number of points to spend on altering the slate of nominees and winners. In a below the line category, which is the technical and production crew categories, as well as specialty feature film categories like international, animated, and documentary, we can swap out a nominee by spending 1 point. Swapping out a nominee in an above the line category, which is screenplay, acting, or directing, requires 2 points, and swapping out a Best Picture nominee is 3 points. To change the winner within a given category, that costs double points. So it's 2 points to change a winner below the line, 4 points for above the line, and 6 points for Best Picture. So if, for example, someone wanted to make Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice the Best Picture winner of the year 2016, it would cost a total of 9 points. 3 points to swap it with, say, Lion, so it became a nominee, and then 6 points to have, once again, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice become the Best Picture winner. Hashtag Oscars so Zach. In terms of points, we each get 10 at the start of a New Year's discussion. Any points not spent in an episode can be carried over to a future Oscar Fairy Flashback episode, which is only relevant to Antonio, who retained 4 points after our last event. So he will start with 14 this go around. Both Jen and I ended with no extra points, so we are starting with 10 this episode. We allocate the points individually, but we are not competing against each other to build our own team. Instead, we are working together on building one collective, collaborative Oscar Fairy slate. All changes must be made with full consensus of the group. Will that be contentious for this year? Do we not care because we all had big life changes? We'll find out. We'll soon see, because we're going to start to sprinkle some dust. Before we get into specific changes, Jen, what are your general thoughts looking at this list of winners and nominees? What do you think about the slate?
So this is not the worst slate. I mean, the Moonlight, La La Land tension, right? Of like it was a 2-film race for this year, for the most part. I think I agree that Moonlight was the most deserving winner. I also really like La La Land though, so I'm just winning all around. Like I think that, like, I do have some notes, which we'll get into as I share my picks. It will become very apparent what my largest gripe with this Oscars year was. But otherwise, I feel like it's one of the. But at the same time, looking at all the films that got nominated, I do feel like it's one of those ones that's very top heavy. Like the handful of films that are at the top of the pile are really great, and then it kind of drops off quite a bit to the next tier. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a year where every single film in the Best Picture lineup is like, yes, greatest of all time. Let's go. Most of them are good, but are like, okay, fine. Like I haven't really thought about them since 2016, right? Looking at you, Hidden Figures.
Wow.
A perfectly delightful movie that I remember at the time really enjoying, but haven't thought about it since. So, yeah. So I'd say, yeah, overall pretty good, but with some exceptions. But maybe like not on average, like the average is not as strong as maybe some other years, but the highs are high.
I agree with that. I think it also was a pretty top heavy year. It's a year though, in terms of the ceremony, part of what was enjoyable beyond, even before we got to that crazy ending, was that the winners, I didn't have many quibbles with the actual winners. They seemed like they were worthy winners. I do think that there's one winner here who I like a lot, but also is one of the biggest examples of category fraud. We'll talk about that as we get into the categories. But I came into the year most excited about La La Land. I like La La Land a lot, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to love it. And so to me, it was like, it was a Moonlight. For me, it was Moonlight versus Manchester by the Sea. Manchester by the Sea didn't really have a chance at Best Picture, but those were my two favorites, and I was really thrilled when Moonlight, won Best Picture. I wish that Barry Jenkins had gotten to give his speech. I wish that it had been like I think it was a big moment that was botched, but still, it was. I'm glad that the result was the way that it was. What about you, PT?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what both of you are saying. I think there's a pretty strong number. I mean, top heavy is fair. I think there's a pretty strong number of quite good movies here, and maybe this is. I have the bias of coming in later for some of them. There's only 3-4 of these of the 10 that I watched in the last few months. And maybe only one of those was top notch, excellent. Again, no disrespect to Hidden Figures, which I also was like, really good. That deserves to be the 10th place movie here. But I think at the time it also was really gaining momentum anyway. We could talk about all that.
I was going to say it once. I remember the Oscar punditry highlight of one of this year was when Hidden Figures won SAG Ensemble. Mm-hmm. And everyone was like, what is happening?
Right. I wasn't as clued into all the precursors as I am now, or as I think you were, but I remember that. I mean, excuse me. I remember it being, oh gosh, like this movie could win. Hidden Figures could take it. But Yeah, I mean, looking over, this has been kind of a weird prep for this episode because I'm like, oh, there's nothing I hate. There's nothing that I'm like, oh, I got to change. That win is the problem. Like this win is the thing I wish were different. You know, I can strain and try to find one or two, but like, especially like, I mean, above the line, it's good. Like there's some things where I'm like, oh man, like why couldn't that also win? But I'm not mad at the people who did win. I'm not mad at the selection of winners. So yeah, I think overall this was a pretty good year. And again, this is an interesting in the evolution of the Academy. This is sort of the year we start to see the results of the changes they aim to implement after the Oscars So White controversy to try to be, you know, offshore a little bit, or sort of like switch over to emeritus status in our academic parlance. Some voters that have not been around for a while or not been active for a while, and try to recruit more and more new members, more diverse members, more international members, and leads to I think some of these wins, which again I think are strong. But I do think there's probably changes to be made, or at the very least, there's movies that I wish did have a little bit more. Are there? Yeah, I'll have that be my next question before we necessarily get into individual changes, though this may lead into that. Are there movies that we want to sort of think about that we're on the outside looking in, at least for a lot of these categories, where it's like we want to make room for them? And if so, what's an example of one of those movies?
I'm going to admit that because of the busy week that I've been having, I did not, as I normally would try to do, did not pick a few films to kind of catch up on and and fill in the blanks. And since at this period in time, I was only watching movies that were nominated for Oscars, basically, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I've seen all these. I looked at this list and I was like, I basically seen all these movies. Great.
It's pre-approved.
Ready to go. But then once you start asking about, well, what movies got snubbed or left out of the Oscar race that should be in here, then I'm like, I don't know. Because I don't know.
Well, but they might be in some races, but like, oh,
it's true. I guess the one I would say for me is probably The Lobster. It's a movie that I really liked during this year, but when I went back and looked at the list of nominees and winners, was sort of surprised that it was not on here more. So that's the one I can think of right away. Early Yorgos.
For me, it's 20th Century Women. I think that it did get a screenplay nod, but I think it deserves more than that. So I'll be that's pretty much it for me in terms of like what I'm going to be fighting for. There's a couple other categories where I have some thoughts, and one where I'd like a change in winner, but it might be controversial for that one, and a below the line category for once for me, which is interesting. But
I like it.
But yeah.
Below the line controversy sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Why don't? I mean, I kind of want to.
Because I think more of your answer to your question is going to emerge if we just start like talking.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was hoping was like, and so like I kind of want to hear what Antonio's controversial change
below the line thing is.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that controversial because it's in the original song category. I think I've alluded before that I don't like the song "City of Stars," which is like sort of like an anthem that kind of like a general anthem that is fine. But to me, if we're going to award like a song from that musical, which I think is appropriate, then I think that I re-listened to the audition song, which was nominated for best song as well. And I think this is the moment when I realized like Emma Stone's going to win an Oscar, right? And I think that at least, I mean, a lot, credit to Emma Stone, she's an amazing performer. She earned that Oscar, but I think that song really highlighted a lot about that character and did a lot of work. Just gave her something to do that was really interesting and really moving, and gave the movie like an appropriate climax. So I really like that as a song better. I liked it as I like also rewarding songs in this category that actually feel like integral to the plot of the film. City of Stars is part of the film. It's not an end credits kind of song, but I just don't think it's a particularly good song.
I think it got picked. I think it got picked because it is the most lyrical song, right? That's classic Oscar move. Yeah. It's like, oh, let's pick the like slowest, softest, most profound sounding song, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's like definitely it's potentially the worst song from La La Land.
Yeah.
Like I would
Yeah.
pick like at least 3 or 4 other songs before that one. Like the opening song of like Another Sunny Day or whatever
Another Day
it's
of
called.
Sun.
Like that one.
I really like
Yeah.
that song. Yeah.
But my memory, I will admit, La La Land is not one of the movies. I didn't revisit movies for this. I was too busy cramming movies that I hadn't seen yet. But my memory is like the opening sequence is, I mean, the rest of the movie I did enjoy. But that opening sequence is incredible. So like, it's like, why wouldn't you do that song? This is interesting. I'd also sort of had a circle around Best Original Song. I have been wondering, are we sure we want to keep it with La La Land with some of these other nominees? Jen?
May I
Please
step
have
up to the podium? Yes. So the one I had on my list that I potentially wanted to change in Best Song was to change the winner to How Far I'll Go from Moana. And part of this is like I have a bias because, as I mentioned, my daughter was born in the fall of 2016. Moana is the defining movie of her early life. She would be watching that movie at least once a day. It would be the thing we put on for her when she needed something to like calm her down. It would be the thing. She loved it. She had a doll. Like I still have it. She tried to donate it not that long ago, and I was like, no, you don't remember how important this doll was to you. But it had a button where she would start singing the song if you pushed it. And so for me, this song, like the movie, it has a very special place in my heart. And honestly, it is kind of a marker of late stage Disney that is actually competitive with golden age Disney musical animated features. And so to me, I want to, and I don't think there's anywhere else that it makes more sense to give this. Well, I guess spoilers for something I'm going to say later, but this to me is a good place to award a film that I think was super strong and very one of the defining animated features of this year. Maybe if we're doing butterfly effect speculation, maybe if Lin-Manuel Miranda EGOTs this year, we don't get Scuttlebutt later.
That's true.
Right? Like maybe we can prevent the crime of Scuttlebutt that Greg listened to. I don't remember what episode from ages ago. What episode he gives his diatribe about it.
It's the meme of the bigger and bigger dominoes falling, but it's Scuttlebutt is the big domino.
Yeah,
it's this change.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm totally fine with that being the winner. Can I ask for one thing though? Since it seems like you agree that City of Stars is not a great song, could I switch out City of Stars as a nominee with Another Day of Sun, which I think is the better song? And
that
honestly, I think Another Day of Sun is actually a better song than Audition, maybe even 2. But I'm fine with it just being nominated. So what do you think, PT? Do you approve?
I love that. I will admit I don't quite recall the song Another Day of Sun versus Audition. Like City of Stars, City of Stars is the one I can remember in my head, but I think that's just because it gets played a lot because it won. That does not mean I recall at the time being like, this is not the strongest song from this movie when City of Stars became the sort of runaway. So yeah, I'm down with this. I was thinking, sometimes we playing this out. It's like, oh, I want to do this. I don't have to do that. Like someone else will do that. Like Jen's going to do this. Like Jen's going to do the Moana song. Like, but it's on my list of a change I wanted to make. So no, I sign off on this for sure. So we have How Far I'll Go replacing City of Stars as the winner of this category. That's 2 points from Jen. And then Another Day of Sun. Is that that's the song title? As the nominee replacing City of Stars from La La Land. That's 1 point from Antonio.
Love it. Apologies to Ryan Gosling.
There is something little. First of all, he's doing fine.
He doesn't know it yet in this year, but he will have I'm Just Ken, and it will far surpass La La Land.
And who knows, maybe once we get to an Oscar Fairy Flashback, that'll be an Academy Award winning song. It is interesting and maybe weird to have like a very huge dominant original musical movie that, gets the most nominations, wins the most awards, but then doesn't win original song. I have a potential. I'm not going to put this forward right now, but I have a potential makeup award to like give to La La Land that I don't really care about, just to take an award away from another movie that I'm more negative about. I'm more negative. I more want to hurt another movie than I want to reward La La Land. But I'll hold off until we go forward. What I would like to say is I want to go up to, let's go big. I'm going to go to director. I'm talking nominees. I'm not talking winner. Poor Damien Chazelle. Enough happened to him that year. If we want to talk about changing that around, I think there's certainly space for it. But there's, 5 people nominated for director. I think 4 of them are great nominations for excellent movies. And then there's also Mel Gibson, who was nominated for Hacksaw Ridge, a movie I just watched that is not very good. It isn't bad, but it's also not very good. It's the C plot to an episode of The Pacific stretched out for 2.5 hours. And great. Like, it's a really good story, and Mel Gibson's good at directing action, blah, blah, blah. He's also a terrible person. I don't really want him to be nominated. So I've spent like a lot of my time tinkering with like, well, who would I want? Because like there was a Scorsese movie this year that was quite good. There was Fences, which is directed by Denzel Washington. I really liked Fences. Thought that was really good. Who was it? It was apparently someone named David Mackenzie directed Hell or High Water. Whatever. All of that in my binging, I landed on the movie as the last one that I watched. I would like to switch out Mel Gibson's nomination for directing Hacksaw Ridge with Park Chan-wook, who directed The Handmaiden for this year, which would make it a Lynchian Mulholland Drive-esque single nomination for the movie, just in directing. And I would feel great about it because that movie is directed incredibly, and it's an awesome movie, and deserves to have gotten some sort of recognition by the Academy.
I have not yet seen that movie, but I know enough about it, or I've heard enough about it, that I support this. And what's interesting, just to be an Oscarologist for a moment, the Hacksaw Ridge nominations really indicative of that we're still in the old, quote unquote, old Academy, right? We spend so much time talking about the new Academy, the expanded Academy, the more international Academy. This being like a mediocre war movie, being like catnip for Academy voters, is just so classic Oscars, right? But we really are chasing Saving Private Ryan. This is Saving Private Ryan light. Like,
yeah. A lot of dismembered bodies out there. Just a lot of like gross violence, and like a weird, very much like thinking, like, I was watching it, I was like, oh, this makes sense. It's the same guy who did, a very famous person, but the same guy who did The Passion of the Christ is this guy who's just like, well, I'm really religious and no one trusts my religious faith. And I suffer for it constantly from all sorts of different directions. And that makes me a really good person that everyone realizes is great by the end of the movie, which is, again, that's not like a terrible story, like, but with all the things around it and all the sort of background around Mel Gibson, it did feel icky, and also had that real like mid 2010s CGI. Like, there's a lot of scenes of people who clearly just in front of a green screen with like stuff filmed in Japan in the background. Like, a lot of the movie is that. So it doesn't hold up that well. Whereas The Handmaid's incredible. Do not watch that movie with your children around. There is just constant sex scenes in that movie for everyone who doesn't know.
Right.
Where do we go from there?
Let's do it.
All right. Great. So that's 2 points from me for that change. That is an above the line nomination change. Great. And yeah, I'm just going to be honest. I'm coming for Hacksaw Ridge in other categories.
I'm fine with it.
So that's part of where I was thinking earlier. But yeah, Jen, we've made a change of yours, Jen, but that was sort of piggybacking off of one of Antonio's. Do you have one that you'd like to put forward?
Yes, I want to go to Best Actress.
A crowded category this year.
Really, but also like super interesting that it's back. I'm like, oh, this is still the time when Best Actress nominations didn't have to line up with Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We have that so much more now, where it's like most of the nominees for the big acting categories will be aligned with, whereas this was the like, no, random movies that are not nominated anywhere else can have acting nominations. It was a different time. So, but my proposed change is to replace Meryl Streep who was nominated for Florence Foster Jenkins. She's got enough nominations. Like,
It's
she's
tough.
fine.
We keep ripping them away from Meryl Streep, but we got to do it.
But she's going to be left with the ones that count. It's fine. So I want to swap her out for Amy Adams from Arrival. So I believe that would be 2 points. And I would also like to have Amy Adams win this category for 4 points.
Oh,
she's coming in hot.
Oh my.
Here we go. I feel very strongly about Arrival. This was my favorite movie from this year.
Okay.
And
great movie.
Which we can get into. Like, this is not the first time I'm going to be bringing up Arrival, so I'll save most of my stump speech about it. But let's think about this. If we give Amy Adams this win here, we no longer have to think of her as a Glenn Close, as a, like the always nominated, never winner. When is she going to win? Is it going to be for this one? I guess not. She has many nominations after this that are also very good. The Fighter, The Master, right? Like, but I do feel like her career takes a certain turn, probably around Hillbilly Elegy.
I was going to say, she doesn't do Hillbilly Elegy
right, exactly. Like, she's not
Academy
chasing the Oscar probably as much if she just wins it here, and we can let her do cooler things, right? And she is so good. She's so good. This movie does not work without her performance. She's not overdoing it, but she's not just stoic faced the entire time either. She brings the emotion when it's necessary. I love a character who's really brainy and is like trying to talk to everybody else about how they're dumb. I really like her in this movie. I really like this movie. Let's make it happen.
So I will say, because I want to set up Antonio, who clearly has stuff to say. When I was looking through the contemporary articles about snubs, this was the number one snub of the moment. Was like, what happened? Like, why is Amy Adams not nominated in Best Actress? And people were sort of thrown off by that. So I was definitely like, Amy, like, and again, all due respect to Meryl Streep, who is wonderful, and I have not seen Florence Foster Jenkins. My guess is that it is an enjoyable movie about a woman who believed she could sing when she couldn't, and whatever, that's fine. But like, that felt like, okay, that's easy to replace. But then I was like, but do you put Amy Adams in for Arrival, or do you put in someone else who might have just as strong a case to both have a nomination and a win? Antonio, am I speaking your language?
Betting for 20th Century Women. Now, we've I know based on our prior Naiad review, Jen hates Annette Bening. No, I'm kidding. She doesn't hate Annette Bening. She did not enjoy that movie.
She's great in American President.
I
like her in that movie.
She's great in 20th Century. Have you seen 20th Century?
I have not. That's the problem. That's the problem.
But I have not seen Arrival, to be honest. I will say that the Amy Adams performance that I think she should have won the Oscar for was Junebug. I think that was her first nomination. I don't think we've covered that year, did we?
We have not. No, we have not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would be. That was the year I was really rooting for her. I'm intrigued I'm the biggest Meryl Streep fan of the four of us, and I've seen Florence Foster Jenkins. I'm fine with that getting replaced.
It's fine.
It's fine.
This clearly is one of her, like, oh, we just love her, let's give her another nomination. Like, it's not about the movie, it's about her.
Now we have to think about so we're taking away Emma Stone's first Oscar. Is the reason that you feel more comfortable with this because she just recently won her second Oscar?
Correct. So,
but
yeah,
however, if we were to get to, and hopefully we will, I'd love to eventually get around to an Oscar Fairy Flashback for Poor Things, would we not almost assuredly want to give it to Lily Gladstone?
Lily Gladstone?
No. Which then means Emma Stone
she's still
Sandra Hüller, but anyway.
Go on. Fair enough. But to someone else, not Emma Stone. I'll just note that Amy Adams in Junebug lost to Rachel Weisz and The Constant Gardener, which is a pretty good performance. I've got no problem with that.
That is a good performance.
Also
fraud, though.
Also is up against Michelle Williams in Brokeback Mountain, which I would find it tough to switch that award and not have it go to Michelle Williams in Brokeback Mountain. But whatever.
No, you're right.
That's a different year.
Right.
It's a different year, a different time.
We have to save that for the Oscar Fairy Flashback, where we correct the mistakes that we've now made.
Which, I mean, Jen may be joking. I was thinking earlier today about how we have to get to 10 of these before we do the Oscar Fairy Flashback.
Right, do revisions. Yeah, put it in our addendums.
Yeah.
If we want to just swap the nomination and not have her win, I will be sad and disappointed, but I will understand. I will understand if we want. But really,
I don't want Jen to be sad.
I'm the only one who's seen both of these movies. These movies are two of the best movies of the year. Like when we were talking about this year's top heavy, it was like, yes, but like the top includes 20th Century Women and Arrival, plus Moonlight, plus I would say now The Handmaiden, which again I know is I'm coming in late to it, but Manchester by the Sea, and
20th Century Women didn't get any nominations, right?
Screenplay. It was
Screenplay.
Best original screenplay for Mike Mills.
Yeah.
See, Jen of
even 3 years after this probably would have seen it. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it was too soon. I wasn't ready to watch all these screenplay nominees.
It's great. I mean, I was circling Annette Bening for potentially, not for winning, but for at least for a nomination for Best Actress. And also potentially Greta Gerwig in supporting actress, because I think Greta Gerwig is great in that movie. I really wanted to not like Manchester by the Sea as much as I did when I watched it, so I could have lobbied for 20th Century Women to win original screenplay. I don't think I can do that because I think Manchester by the Sea is really well written, so that's a tough one to change. But I do lean, I'm sorry, Antonio, I do lean a little bit more towards, if we were going to pick a winner instead of Emma Stone, I would go towards Amy Adams for Arrival. Only because I think Amy Adams' performance in Arrival is more crucial to what happens in that movie. I also like, it's weird. It's almost like a punishment for being in a smaller movie. It's a bigger movie, but so much of it requires Amy Adams to be able to do what she does in it.
Let's do step one first. Let's put her in the nomination. So I'm and then we can. But okay, go on, PT.
Well, do we want to switch Annette Bening for someone else? The other nominees in Best Actress are, winner is Emma Stone for La La Land, Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, and Natalie Portman in Jackie as Jackie. I will admit I have not seen Elle. By all reports, Isabelle Huppert is transcendent in that movie, an incredible performance. The other three I think are very good to excellent performances. So I don't immediately see like we got to get rid of one of them, but I can be argued if Antonio wants to try to make that case.
I did not enjoy Jackie. I'm a Natalie Portman fan, but I did not enjoy that movie. So okay. I could move. I would, if I'm giving you Amy Adams, can I get Natalie Portman out? I know it's a tough one. But that's the one that I would move. But
I don't know if I could do that.
I understand. I'm fine. I'm fine to replace Meryl Streep with Amy Adams. I love Amy Adams, and my guess is that if I watched Arrival, I'd be on board. I don't know about on board with the win, but definitely with the replacement of the nominee. And all right, I'll fight for Annette Bening another day.
PT, what do you think? Because I mean, part of me is like, I can't betray Padme Amidala. Like that feels wrong.
Here's what I will say is,
she does have an Oscar.
She had already won an Oscar.
Black Swan, right?
Black Swan had already happened.
She won for Black Swan.
An Oscar.
So actually, yeah.
And I will, as the person most interested in the JFK assassination, it's surprising it took me so long to watch this. I watched this after watching the other two Pablo Larraín women trapped by their own celebrity movies, and it was interesting to be like, oh, this is a lot better than Spencer and Maria, but maybe that's because I'm more interested. It did, like, Natalie Portman's affect in it is so odd. It made me go back and watch footage of Jackie Kennedy. He was like, oh no, that's what she sounded like. That is how she talked. I guess. Cool. Good. So like in that sense, good performance. I do think Annette Bening is better in 20th Century Women for sure than Natalie Portman.
Let's do it.
So I would endorse that. I would endorse making those two changes, taking out Meryl Streep, taking out Natalie Portman, bringing in Amy Adams, bringing in Annette Bening. 2 points from Jen, 2 points from Antonio. In terms of the nominations, are we going to go ahead with changing this win? Listeners could not see Jen's grin, which can only be described using a phrase, using a swear.
This is goodwill. This is the goodwill that came with you giving me Boyhood a while back. I support it. We can if
Wow.
PT will support it. Um, let's do it. I love Amy
Wow.
Adams. I trust you too. So what do you think? PT?
PT,
Yeah.
you're usually my brother in Denis Villeneuve. Like, what you
Yeah,
haven't said
yeah.
anything about
No,
it.
I like this. I do feel good about it. As like, yes, I think this is a good win. I'm concerned for going forward about the status of Emma Stone. Emma Stone is taking the place of um Inarritu as the person that we are like going to be continually taking awards from. I will just say again, I apologize to listeners who don't want more lists of nominations thrown at them, but the year of The Favorite, the 91st Academy Awards, Best Supporting Actress, the win was Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Very good win. Not Emma Stone's nominated for The Favorite. Rachel Weisz nominated for The Favorite. Marina de Tavira for Roma, and then Amy Adams in Vice, which in retrospect, if she wins here, was not a nomination. That would happen. So yeah, I don't know though if Emma Stone's toppling Regina King there. And again, I don't know if Emma Stone's holding on to Poor Things if we get there and we can make changes. But yeah, no, I think we do it. I think we're doing this to do it. Let's give Amy Adams her blessing. To the degree to which Emma Stone loses some of her well-earned status because of this, we gain by Amy Adams not choosing some of these terrible awards bait movies.
If it's any consolation, I do feel like Emma Stone, as a relative to Amy Adams, has a much brighter future ahead of her. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's producing movies. She's kind of on a roll. You know what I mean? Like, there's a momentum that she has right now that's kind of unstoppable. And so I would not be surprised if sometime in the near future she does win another one.
Sure.
Like,
but is she producing as many movies if she's not an Academy Award winner at the age of whatever age she was
that's
when
not
she
our
wins for La
problem.
La Land? we're changing the past, but like there's only so much domino
We
effect.
can't take responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
I do want to know one thing. This was the category fraud that I mentioned earlier. That
Yes.
Viola Davis won Best Supporting Actress for a role that is clearly a lead role. She
Sure.
played this role on Broadway and won Lead Actress along with Denzel Washington on Broadway for playing the exact same role. So what's interesting to think of, and I thought about this and decided ultimately to keep it because as much as I would love for me Michelle Williams to win for Manchester by the Sea, that would open up supporting actress. It made Best Actress just too, and especially now that we're bringing Amy Adams into the mix, and it's just too difficult a category. So Viola Davis needs this like deserves this Oscar, but that is definite category fraud, right?
It would be interesting for this whole exercise for the Oscar Fairy Flashback, something we cannot figure out now, to be like, is there a ruling and a way to not spend points to be like, we're moving Viola Davis to lead actress, and like we're doing that, and then deciding like she should win lead actress instead of any of these people. I don't know if we would do that even if we could, but that's an interesting potential potential thing there, because there is a degree of, and I mean I heard this a lot. I only just watched the movie and was sort of feeling it as it was unfolding, which is the downside of waiting so many years to see it, is you get the sort of Oscar chatter in your background while watching it, in the back of your brain, that like Michelle Williams in Manchester by the Sea is such a supporting performance, is barely in the movie, but like so powerful in the times when she does show up, that it would be like, oh yeah, that would make sense. That's like almost like unless they start to introduce like a third tier like cameo category or something like that, where it's like supporting performance, that makes sense. But then she loses to someone who is the co-lead of it, similar to the Kieran Culkin issue.
This is still a problem at the Oscars, right? People are like, oh, well, this is a true supporting performance, and
right.
This is a supporting because they wanted to give the person a better chance to win.
Yeah.
But really they're a lead. So just shout out to Michelle Williams to add on to this. That I'm going to be as vague as I possibly can, because it is a pretty big spoiler to describe what I'm about to describe. And in earnest, there's the scene where she is on the sidewalk. That's all I'll
Mm-hmm,
say.
mm-hmm.
Is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. One of the most heartbreaking, awful
Gut-wrenching.
things. Yes.
Yeah.
So just shout out to her. Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. Like, I want Viola Davis, and her win for Fences feels good, even if it is category fraud. So I'm not necessarily wanting to rock the boat on that one either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to be mad about it. But you know, and also this is, again, in the sort of movement from the Oscars so white into having more diversity. Like, it's great that Ruth Negga got nominated in Best Actress. It's good that both Mahershala Ali and Viola Davis won in the supporting categories. Like, that's really great. So, it would feel a little bad to take that away. Although now I'm also remembering how good Naomi Harris is in Moonlight, and it's like, oh right, Naomi Harris. Where are you two on Lion?
Lion is fine. It's neither good. It's neither great nor bad. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. But it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's
kind of weird. The dynamic, like, I just mean the story is weird. Like, I think Nicole Kidman is doing fine work in it. I enjoy Dev Patel a great deal, so I'm not going to complain about it necessarily. But I remember watching it and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was because I was like a new dad, but the scene where the kid is on the train and whatever, and then like gets separated from his family, I was bawling.
Yeah, that's
right.
tough.
And
it's
like,
tough. Yeah,
it was rough. But I remember being very moved, by the film, while also recognizing this is perhaps not like top tier filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we talking about Lion for Best Picture?
Well, I mean, I was just sort of doing a scan of like, I think these are.
Yeah, where's this going?
Pretty strong. I'm looking in the acting categories, and it's generally pretty strong. And it's hard because there's like the pieces aren't necessarily fitting for me. Like, we had these two actresses that we've placed in and sacrificed greatly. Both Meryl and Natalie have stuff taken away. There's some in the other categories where I have stuff I kind of want, but I'm like, who do I really want to take away? Like, and to me, it's the people I could lose would be, with all due respect to her great talent, Nicole Kidman in Lion. She does great in the movie, but I don't know if she needs a supporting actress. And also maybe Viggo Mortensen in lead actor for Captain Fantastic, a movie I thought was okay. I was not blown away by it. He's going to be, I mean, maybe he won't be in our world, but in the real world, he's nominated for Green Book in a couple of years, which, like,
oh, right.
Okay. Like, he's got some more like tenuous Oscar nominations coming up, but then, yeah, it's like, what do I want? Like,
what's the movie that Viggo should have been nominated and or won?
The Return of the King.
Okay, yes. Wait, he wasn't nominated for that?
No act. Ian McKellen.
Wait, what year?
In Fellowship of the Ring is
that year?
Well, I mean, it'll be a little while if we follow the plan. If we follow the plan, it'll be a little while. But yes, no. Ian McKellen as Gandalf in the Fellowship of the Ring is the only acting nomination that any of the Lord of the Rings movies got. So
I guess, yeah, that movie just got so many Oscars. I think my brain just auto-corrected.
I understand. So, like, just to throw out some names, and I'm not saying I want all these people in. Like, I have a sort of yearning to have Patrick Stewart be nominated for Green Room in supporting actor. I don't know if there's room to get him in there. Patrick Stewart as like the boss of a Nazi gang in the middle of the woods is incredible. And he brings all his Picard gravitas to being just like really evil and potentially now a senior member of the cabinet. But he's great in that movie. I somewhat like, I was surprised at how much I really did enjoy the movie Sully. And most of that is on Tom Hanks in his lead acting performance. And then an under-present movie that I would like to somehow get in somewhere would be The Nice Guys, the Shane Black movie with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. I did not get a chance to revisit. I don't know which one would be lead and which one would be supporting. I think Russell Crowe's a supporting performance and Ryan Gosling's the lead. I don't know if any of them necessarily fit. at this point, I'm just sort of throwing out some
I
ideas
have not
around acting.
seen Nocturnal Animals, but doesn't Michael Shannon have another nomination somewhere?
I'm
For
almost
something?
certain
He
he's
just
been
feels
nominated a
like an
couple
actor
times.
who would have multiple nominations by now.
He
But
was
maybe
a surprising nominee here because I remember the Golden Globes, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, won the supporting actor at the Golden Globes for this same movie. But Michael Shannon won here. I haven't seen Nocturnal Animals, so I don't know. So I don't know.
Neither have
I just
I.
remember.
He was also nominated for Revolutionary Road. Was his
oh,
in 2008
Ah, okay.
was his other nomination. I feel like I've
maybe
never
I'm thinking of Shape of Water, which he was not nominated for.
right. But Antonio is correct. Best supporting actor in a motion picture, Aaron Taylor Johnson for Nocturnal Animals. I feel like this is a movie I've never really heard anyone say they liked, so I've never gotten around to watching it.
Yeah.
But I do feel a little bad being like, well, let's take this nomination out.
Right. It's based on the genre. It sounds like something I would neo noir psychological thriller. That sounds like something
Right.
I would like. But I had never really heard much about this movie, so never
Okay.
got around to
So
seeing it.
okay.
And
Then
here's the thing: Lion, as kind of fine as it is, I do not want to take anything away from Dev Patel. He is
well,
precious.
that's exactly right. Like looking at it, that's the sort of end result. Is Jeff Bridges is incredible in Hell or High Water. A
Lucas
movie,
Hedges is amazing too.
and Lucas Hedges
Yeah, that's
is
the thing.
incredible.
The first 3 nominees on this list, we can't touch. They're actually very deserving,
And-
very good. And then the last 2, it's like, well, the movies, whatever, we either haven't seen them or we don't feel very strongly about them. But I would rather boot out Michael Shannon. Apologies to Michael Shannon.
Well,
who I appreciate as an actor as well, but he's no Dev Patel.
right. And the thing is that Dev Patel is like particularly carrying Lion for a big part of it. And I remember at the time being like, wait, he's the main character and he's in supporting. That seems like
we don't get
some
Monkey
BS.
Man if he's not nominated here.
It's true. So okay, I've chatted around a little bit. I think I have to make what a motion I don't even really want to make, but I think I have to. Because again, it's a movie I like quite a bit, but the person who is the person receiving the nomination, their life has been just fine. I don't know if the domino effect is because of this Oscar nomination is where they've turned out. But I think I want to take the original screenplay nomination for Hell or High Water away from Taylor Sheridan to put in The Nice Guys by Shane Black and whoever his
I didn't even realize we were talking about screenplay, PT.
Well, I switched over to screenplay because I can't find room for these guys.
No, I get it.
In acting. I don't want to take one away from Michael Shannon necessarily.
Taylor Sheridan will do just fine. I think that's what you mean, right? Like
exactly. Although, does he get all of his Yellowstone deals partially because he's got, I'm an Oscar nominated
again, maybe that's selectively, that's not our problem.
And also, are we sure it's bad if he doesn't get Yellowstone? Anyway, it's
Hell or High Water was a good movie. I liked Hell or High Water.
I like Hell or, that's the thing. I just like Nice Guys even more, and I like these other nominees even more than.
Yeah, this is a tough category.
It's tough. It's so for listeners, it's Manchester by the Sea is the winner. 20th Century Women, La La Land, The Lobster are the other nominees. I mean, yeah, I can't take out any. I mean, if someone wanted to argue, take out La La Land, but that doesn't make any sense.
As much as I enjoy Hell or High Water, I'm not sure the screenplay itself is the thing that I think about. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Actually, it's pretty well directed.
It also
edited. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if I'm thinking about the writing for that movie.
Right. It also low key got 4 Oscar nominations, so this would not like even take it away from being a multiple. It would still have it above the line in Jeff Bridges, and then it would have, I think, editing and something else. One of the sound ones, maybe. So
a movie like this is never getting nominated today. That's so funny to think about.
I mean, yeah, well, it would be a 8 or 10 episode Paramount Plus show instead of that. Okay. Well, I will let me take.
Yeah, I'm fine with that if you want to do that.
A Nice Guys nomination. All right. Are there any other? I mean, again, we don't. I was sort of trying to kick around acting because I couldn't. I get square pegs and round holes. Are there any other acting thoughts people have?
no is the short answer for me,
Okay.
but I did toy with how do we get Taraji P. Henson in here, because if we're it's just like it's a parody thing where I'm like, if we're giving Hidden Figures nominations, she's the star of that movie. Why is she not getting nominated? It just feels weird. Octavia Spencer obviously very good in it too, but there are some movies where people just fixate on one supporting performance and that becomes like the emblem of the movie. It's very strange. So and I appreciate Taraji P. Henson in general. But I don't feel strongly enough to actually use points on it probably.
Yeah.
So the shout out will be all I do.
Something that I think maybe I could have even mentioned earlier, hanging over this, is the fact that the next year that we are looking at is a insane year for movies. And I think an insane year for each of our tastes. We all have movies we really care about. That is The Shape of Water winning, but it's also Get Out. It's The Phantom Thread. It's Call Me By Your Name. It's Lady Bird. It's Dunkirk. It's wild. There's a lot of really strong movies there. And I think that there's a lot of sort of changes we'll want to make. So I feel like there's going to be some points banking that might be happening here.
That's fair.
Like I was kicking around since I made one screenplay nominations. I'm saying it because I don't think I'm actually going to propose it. Taking out Lion, which again, like of all of it is like, the script is fine. Like the story is good, but like based on a book that exists, and potentially trying to advocate for Silence, getting my boy Marty in like another nominee. It would be, I think, Martin Scorsese and Jay Cox of A Complete Unknown fame, who started writing it sometime in they started writing Gangs of New York in the 70s. They started writing Silence in the late 90s. And
I'm okay with that if that's. But do you really want to spend points on that, though?
I want to see I don't know if I want to spend points on it. I'm saying it. I don't know if I want to spend points.
Sure. Well, we can table it.
But okay. Antonio, is there anything else above the line you're thinking about? Or below the line?
One last. I have one thing. I have one last thing. And it's for Best Picture. And again, I haven't seen a lot of these movies, but based on, I think that I'm going to have your support to replace Hacksaw Ridge, at least, right?
Yeah,
I would like to see 20th Century Women in the Best Picture field. So I know that'll cost me 3 points, but that's it. That's my proposal.
That sounds good.
Right? And I love it because it means I don't need to spend money.
I know.
Hacksaw Ridge or whatever points.
All part of the plan. I would like to move us to Best Animated Feature. If it's an appropriate time. Okay.
I think it is.
So I had only seen before recording today, I had only seen 3 of these movies. So the nominees, just as a reminder, I guess that would be helpful, are Zootopia, Kubo and the Two Strings, Moana, My Life as a Zucchini, and The Red Turtle. So I had not at the time in this year at the time, I had not seen My Life as a Zucchini and The Red Turtle. I tried to watch like about 20 minutes of each movie today. Just to feel like I had some sort of like authority in terms of talking about this category.
And these are awards for the first 20 minutes of the movie, right? That's how the Oscars are set up.
Hey, well, I'm thinking like an Academy voter, okay?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Although this is pre the digital portal. But anyway, My Life as a Zucchini, beautiful stop motion animation, seems artistically rendered, but very sad, like very depressing. It's about a little boy whose mother's an alcoholic. Bad stuff happens, and so I was like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna go after this movie. Like, it seems like it deserves to be here. I always like when this category has at least one film that's kind of like out there or like for adults or something like that, right? The Red Turtle, which is actually a co-production with Studio Ghibli. So I was like, oh, why have I never seen this movie? This is crazy. The part of the movie I watched features the main character. It's like, okay, so this movie essentially is Castaway, but animated, and with like more mystical elements potentially. And so this one guy, there's no dialogue. It's this one guy on an island for a really long time. And the part that the movie I jumped in because I was like, well, this one maybe I'll watch 20 minutes like from the second act or something. You know what I mean? Like I skipped ahead a little bit. It's him. This guy runs out, hits this red sea turtle that's just coming up the beach over the head, and then flips him over and is like jumping on top of him. And I'm like, I can't get on board with this movie. This is terrible. Um, so anyway, so that's my context in terms of how I'm coming to this movie. What I am actually proposing, because that is probably what you want to know, I would like to swap out Zootopia for a film called Your Name, which I don't know if either of you have seen this.
I have.
Okay.
It is excellent.
It is excellent. And so this, for context, this is by Makoto Shinkai, the director of a more recent film called Suzumi, which a lot of people I think were rooting to be in the Oscar race, but was not. That was in 2022. I think this movie is a little bit better than Suzumi. It's amazing. It's really great. It makes you, lulls you into a sense that you know what it is, and then it's very much not what it is, and in a great way. So that this is a movie I would need in the nominations. And maybe this is just my go big or go home year, but I would also like to make this movie the winner. If people have strong feelings about Zootopia, here's the thing. I enjoyed Zootopia, but in the pantheon of Disney Pixar animated movies, it just doesn't have the stuff. Like it's like low key weirdly about racial profiling, and it did that part of it like doesn't quite work, I think. And like I really enjoy Jason Bateman as a Wile E. Fox. Like there's a lot about that movie that I really like, but then I'm thinking about, does it deserve to be here? And does it deserve to be here over other movies like, I mean, not only Your Name, which I think is absolutely deserving to be in this category, but even something like Finding Dory came out this year. Trolls came out this year. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a bunch more big studio animated movies. And so it's like, why Zootopia? Like, shrug. Like, and Moana's here too, right? So it's not like we don't have the big studio movies represented. Moana's much, much better than Zootopia. So I, and so part of me was like, I want to kick out this movie Red Turtle. But then I'm like, well, but like the animation, it is very pretty. It's like a hand-drawn kind of style. And I was like, so maybe I felt kind of bad about that. I wanted to preserve. I didn't want. I wanted to have my change come at the expense of a big animation studio potentially.
Right.
So that's kind of where I landed on. Let's swap out Zootopia for Your Name and make Your Name the winner of this category. I also toyed with like, shouldn't we make Moana? But then I realized I could do that in an original song. So that's my thought process.
I have no problem with this in terms of quality. I have a problem in that you are 1 point short of being able to do that.
No.
Because
I didn't do the math.
You've spent. We will be able to work this out. It's fine. There'll just be some more horse trading, I think. But you've got 2 points for Amy Adams going into Best Actress, 4 points for her winning.
Yes,
so that's 6.
That I had down.
You have 2 points for changing the winner for original song, which is 8 points.
Okay, but I would need 3 points for this.
You need 3 points to do this. 1 to switch the nomination, and 2 to switch. So you need 1 more point. Yeah, Antonio, have you seen this movie, Your Name?
Not.
Okay.
I've been saving points for next year, but you know what? I can donate a point to Jen, right? Because I have 8 points left, so I'll give a point to Jen. Just keep this in mind for next year.
So that brings that me asking Antonio about that is that I also would have donated a point for it, but then I was like, but I want to save. He already has more points than me, and I want to save points for next year. So now it's just we're going to be fighting.
Antonio's banking goodwill, which is very wise.
No, he's playing the long game, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it because it means that someone besides me is thinking about this in the long stretches where we're not doing these recordings. I think Your Name is masterful, and I agree. Like, I mean, all due respect to Moana and Zootopia and Finding Dory, and I have not seen these other movies. I've heard good things about Kubo and the Two Strings.
That is quite good. Yeah,
my guess is I don't think I'd like it more than Your Name, which I was at you correctly, or the sort of like it's one of those movies. Actually, The Handmaiden was a similar of like you watch it for a little bit and you're like, okay, I get this, and this is pretty good, and then stuff keeps happening and you're like, oh, I see. Oh. very, very different in terms of the kind of movies they are, but had that sort of heightening.
And
sort of
it is
throughout.
really hard to explain why without spoiling it, but it has kind of like a much larger, it just cracks open and the scope of it changes in a way that really is mind blowing. And I don't even want to mention anything else because I feel like the
Yes.
less you know about this movie before you watch it.
Yes.
If you are at all a fan of anime, you should totally watch this. If you are all a fan of, even this could be like too much of a hint, but like
Well, I would say don't even say what I think you're going to say.
I'm not even going to say.
It would be. I would say I'm not really a fan of anime, but I really like this, and I think that it's like if you like stories that are rooted emotionally, but like do things you don't expect, rooted in strong emotions between people, but you also don't want to see like a regular standard story. It's definitely worth checking out. Excellent. I think that's good. Okay, so I don't mean to be the jerk who's just targeting Hacksaw Ridge, but I'm just noting that Hacksaw Ridge won 2 Oscars here. It won Best Sound Mixing, as predicted by Jen, leading into things. It also won Best Film Editing. What I was saying earlier when I was trying to be real cagey about it, when I was like, well, we've now taken 2 awards away from La La Land to make it less of a winner than it was before. I was like, well, like maybe I would want to give, we could give sound mixing to La La Land. It's a musical. They had to blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to spend 2 of my points on that. I'm just going to note that we probably should do that, but we're not going to. But for those of you who have listened this far into the episode, you can know we're not here to disrespect La La Land. I'm here to disrespect Hacksaw Ridge. And I would love to do that by switching out La La Land, but I don't want to spend points to do that. When instead, I could go looking at film editing and
continue.
It's basically I want all these other movies to win instead of Hacksaw Ridge. I'm up for any of these. I also both kind of want to bring in Manchester by the Sea or The Handmaiden into this category as well, because those are both really well edited. I think what I'm thinking right now, but I'm opening this up for discussion. And these are my points. I would spend them as points, but I'll see what you all think. I'm thinking Moonlight. I mean, and maybe this undermines the whole narrative of the crazy end of the night, which is we all assumed it was La La Land winning because it won so many awards. And we end up now with, I think we'd end up with Moonlight and La La Land winning the same number. Yeah, we'd have them with 4 each. So it wouldn't be as much of a surprise, but also like, I kind of think Moonlight is a better movie than La La Land. I wouldn't mind it winning at least as many Academy Awards as that. So yeah, I'm thinking Moonlight instead of Hacksaw Ridge for editing. What do you all think?
In terms of the winner or just in terms of...
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm switching out winners.
So it would still be nominated? Hacksaw Ridge would still be nominated?
I mean, again, I'm thinking about points for the future.
Sure.
But again, the 2 movies I would think about bringing in, or I have thought about bringing in, are Manchester by the Sea and Handmaiden, 2 very different kinds of movies, but I think
it's a points issue. Yeah. I had, not surprising at this point, editing going to Arrival, because in terms of the plot of that movie, and again, I can't say too much without spoiling it. If for some reason someone's like, "Oh, what's this Arrival movie?" I like Dune. I like Denis Villeneuve. I want to go see that. I don't want to ruin it for you. So there's a part of the story that really requires deft editing, and I think they pull it off really well. There's the sequencing becomes very important in this movie, and I do think that without strong editing, the storytelling in that movie kind of falls apart. So
that's fair.
That's my plug, but that doesn't mean you should do that. That's just
Antonio, what are your thoughts on editing?
Tough because I haven't seen Arrival. I mean, I think the editing in Moonlight was incredible, so I definitely support that. But I'd support. I have to leave it to the 2 of you, and it's your points, PT. So,
sure.
But I'm fine. I'm fine with either one.
Here's what I would say in terms of the sort of overall landscape of the ceremony is we would now have we could either have in terms of multiple awards, 4 for La La Land, 4 for Moonlight, 2 for Manchester by the Sea, and that's it. And everything else is a singular award. Or it could be 4 for La La Land, 3 for Moonlight. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 for Arrival. We'd have 2 for Arrival in the other scenario too, because that one's sound and it would have won Best Actress for Amy Adams. So then it would be 4 for La La Land, 3 for Moonlight, 3 for Arrival, 2 for Manchester by the Sea. Yeah, that's tough. Arrival is really good, but then again, so is Moonlight. I'm being persuaded, and I'm also trying to bank my own goodwill with Jen. So I'm being persuaded by.
I think Moonlight. If we're gonna give Moonlight another one, I would say probably more cinematography. Which again, to be entirely predictable, I also had on my list. Oh, maybe we should change the winner to Arrival and cinematography too. but if we're spreading it around, like I think that the Arrival for editing and Moonlight for cinematography makes more sense. That's not to say you probably don't have enough points to do both of those things. So
I mean, theoretically I do, but I don't want to spend all those points.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like if I was going to spend an additional point now, it would be to bring in a different movie.
I guess Moonlight does have a lot of editing that jumps between different timelines, but I don't really remember anything particularly unusual about that.
You're like, Moonlight, is it good? Quote.
It is great, but I feel like, hey,
are we sure it's good? Jen Beck.
But I do feel like, but when I think of this, so the reason I had it, I flagged it in cinematography is because I remember shots of that movie. You know what I mean? Like that's years and years later. Like that's what I remember. And the coloration and the use of lighting, the moonlight, the literal title of the movie, right? Like I think that to me feels more suited to cinematography.
It does, but then there is a degree of like, how much are we going to strip away from poor La La Land?
Sure.
Which had all the colors.
I love La La Land. So La La Land, here's the thing with La La Land. La La Land is in many ways made for me. I like musicals, and I particularly like old Hollywood movies and musicals, which this movie is definitely inspired by. Like it is so in love with Singing in the Rain in its imagery and its choreography. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, absolutely charming. Like I have very few complaints about this movie, but it is, to me, it's more rooted in pastiche of something else rather than its original thing. That's what's so revelatory about Moonlight. It's like I felt like when I saw that for the first time, I had never seen anything like it. No story as intimate, no story as kind of refreshing in terms of like, oh, I've never seen a story about this type of person's life or this life experience. Like it has so much going for it. So like that's the thing, is like that's what makes it more deserving in the Moonlight La La Land showdown. It's not that La La Land is bad at all. It's just that Moonlight was a revelation.
I like that the later it gets and the more we're saying it is becoming Moon La La Light. Moon La Light. La La Land, Moon La Light. Okay, I think I'm going to go with Arrival. We'll balance that out. I think you're right about the editing there, which means I feel a little bad we couldn't get another win over to Moonlight Anywhere, but that's okay. I also think, because I think both Antonio and I are done in terms of spending points, we have somehow ended up with the following 3 movies still being Academy Award winners: Suicide Squad, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and The Jungle Book. I don't know. I don't really want to switch any of those out. Like, there was a part of me that was like, maybe what if we just give Jackie? We're gonna take Natalie Portman out of Best Actress. Let's give Jackie costumes. We don't need Fantastic Beasts to win that, but it's fine. You're right. It's fine.
The Star Wars fan in me was like, how do we get Rogue One to win? I guess over Jungle Book. Maybe that's.
I mean, the answer was spend 2 points.
Yes, but it was too far down my list for that to be a thing. The only other thing I had on my list that I want to give a shout out to was I did put The Lobster in production design.
I like that
potentially, because I just wanted to give it more awards, and I was like kind of quickly scanning all the categories. I'm like, oh, what makes most sense? And I'm like, hey, like the production design, the fact that those rooms look so drab requires a lot of effort, right? Like
that level of
so beige. Dead inside, yeah. So
the only other thing I had on my notes that I wanted to mention, but I was not going to spend points on this because how frivolous would it be? But I do wish Andrew Garfield had been nominated in lead actor for Silence instead of for Hacksaw Ridge, because I think that's a better movie and he is better in that. Although he is very good in Hacksaw Ridge, he's that movie again, the action directing and all that is good. And I think he's doing what he needs to do. He's doing a very strong performance there. So I didn't want to take away.
He actually came out of got Oscar attention very early in your career. He kind of came out of that pretty well. Like a lot of people don't survive that.
Although, I mean, did he get a nomination for Social Network?
No.
Okay.
Spoilers for a future episode.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, this was his first, right? He only been nominated for
we already did the Social Network here, didn't we?
No, we've talked. I think we've just talked about that.
We just talked about it. Okay.
In general, no, we've. That would be.
That's
for listeners who are
contentious.
Still here, listeners who are still here who maybe care. But my hope is we have this one, and then we have one more, which is again that 2017, 2018 films of 2017, Oscars of 2018, and then we would jump back to the 5 years before the 5 years we have covered, which would include the Social Network year as a part of it, which is maybe we're getting further away from when we were all really, really locked in. But I think there's enough that we know about all those movies. We can still do that.
Yeah.
Antonio doesn't even know that I've pitched him to go on another podcast with me to talk about the 1976 Academy Awards. So whatever, we'll discuss that at some other time.
Read back what we did.
All right. So, from sort of the Wikipedia top to bottom in terms of categories, the changes we have made. For Best Picture, we got a nomination for 20th Century Women, replacing Hacksaw Ridge. That was done by Antonio. And that was 3 points. I don't know if you guys want to keep track of the math to make sure I didn't screw that up. So that was 3 points from Antonio. 20th Century Women replacing Hacksaw Ridge. In director, we have Park Chan-wook for The Handmaiden as a nominee, replacing Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge. That was me, PT, for 2 points. Next was actress. We had 2 nomination replacements. We had Amy Adams in Arrival, replacing Meryl Streep in Florence Foster Jenkins as a nomination. That was Jen, 2 points. And then Annette Bening in 20th Century Women, replacing Natalie Portman in Jackie. That was Antonio for 2 points. And we had a winner change here. Amy Adams in Arrival, replacing Emma Stone in La La Land. That was Jen for 4 points. We only had a few categories we really messed with here. Original screenplay, The Nice Guys screenplay was a nomination, replacing Hell or High Water. That was by me. That was 2 points for PT. In animated feature, we had Your Name as a nomination, replacing Zootopia. Antonio generously donating 1 point for that. And then Your Name as the winner, replacing Zootopia. Jen with 2 points to spend on that. And under original song, we had Another Day of Sun as a nomination, replacing City of Stars. Also Antonio, 1 point. And then How Far I'll Go from Moana as the winner, replacing City of Stars by Jen, which is 2 points. And finally, in film editing, Arrival as the winner over Hacksaw Ridge. That was me, PT, with 2 points. So I have it that I spent 6 points this episode. Antonio spent 7, and Jen spent 10. Does that look right? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like I feel bad now that I spent all my points, but it was worth it.
I mean, I usually want to go all in. I just didn't feel as strongly, and I know there's just a lot going on next episode. So okay, that means Antonio will be carrying forward 7 points. So we'll have 17 to do his malicious intents in the next episode. I'll have 4 carrying over, so 14 points. Greg, who hopefully will be able to come back next time, will have 13 points. He's been holding on to 3 from the last time he was around. And Jen, you're carrying forward no points, so you will have 10 points to start next go around. Yeah, and that's our Oscar Fairy Flashback.
I did it. I think that was good. That was a nice spread.
Yeah,
across multiple categories.
We got a few new movies in. We propped a couple up. I feel a little bad at like how much it's just hard to not take away from La La Land when it won so many awards to begin with and got so many nominations. But yeah, I think this is a nicer. And I think thinking about what's held up over time. Thinking about Moana, thinking about Arrival, thinking about 20th Century Women. These are movies that have had more legs than, say, a Hacksaw Ridge or even La La Land and Zootopia.
All right, Antonio, this was super fun. I'm glad we got to fit another one of these in. Where can folks find you? And I know there's only one place.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Alefano, AELEFANO. PT, where can they find you?
You can also find me on Letterboxd at PT McNiff, PTMCNIFF. You can also find the show there at LTR Pod, or you can look for the show on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at The Long Take Review, or you can subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever you're listening right now, you can hit subscribe and get updates from us in the future. Jen, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Subchockchai, SOPCHOCKCHAI. And you can find me on Letterboxd at Qui-Gon Jinn.
I think Greg's going to be mad at me for the Natalie Portman one in particular. Sorry, Greg. But yeah. Well,
I know.
I was surprised at how much I liked Jackie compared to what I thought it would be. But
that's right. Once I remembered there was Black Swan, I felt better about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. You can follow The Long Take Review on Substack at thelongtake.substack.com. Subscribe for free, and you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops. You'll also receive written reviews of new films with Oscar buzz, as well as any new installments of prop franchises like Star Wars and Marvel.